Well, this is our church.
It's our church. This is where we met. I mean, for all intents and purposes, like, we met through church, and this is a space that's sacred for us. This is a place where we met and we fell in love, and this is a place that we've experienced love. And actually, we haven't sat in these two seats since we had our daughter's memorial here, and so
this is right where we sat.
This is right where we sat for Keelyn's memorial, and we haven't sat on this road together in a year and a half since then. And so we just felt like this is the place that we wanted to come back to tell her story, and we wanted to tell about the wonderful people along the way, while we were walking through it and after as well. So welcome to Miracle Theater.
We were introduced through friends. I'd been coming to NCC for a couple of years when Chris came on staff, and we met shortly after that.
People thought two short people would make a great couple, so we got set up and introduced, and the rest is history. About a year later, we were married.
So we were married for 3 years before we got pregnant, I think.
Enough time to do all the things.
All the things.
Enjoy your life before kids. The time when we wanted to start a family, it wasn't as easy as we thought it was going to be, and it took about 9 months for us to get pregnant.
We were about 8 weeks pregnant when we went to the doctor, and the doctor was doing our sonogram and said,
"Can you count?"
"Can you count?"
Yeah.
And there were 2 of them.
Right.
So we knew our pregnancy was high risk early on, and so we started going to our high-risk doctor. We found out around 17 weeks they saw something didn't look right with baby B's heart. And so we made an appointment to go to Children's. And that's when we found out about that Keelyn had hypoplastic left heart syndrome.
Yeah, while we were pregnant, you read all the books. You read all the twin books, you read all the parenting books, how to do life with 2. And I just remember distinctly reading, the potential challenges and the potential risks for identical twins. And I remember that line, HLHS. And I just remember thinking to myself, well, we're good. That's not going to be our story. And it was our story. It was the journey that we had to walk.
The girls were born on May 1st, 2017. And we didn't know how long we were going to be in the hospital.
Well, the first 2 weeks were crazy. I mean, they were really nuts. Washington Hospital Center and Children's are right next door, but we literally had one child in one hospital and the other child in the other hospital. And we were traveling back and forth while one's in a NICU and one's in the cardiac ICU, to be with both of them, to see both of them. In Children's, they had a policy where, no one under a certain age was allowed to come into the cardiac ICU. And I think we were one of the first families where they were working, how do we be a more inclusive hospital to families. After flu season was over, we were fortunate enough to be able to bring Ryan with us to Children's. And that was just a real gift, to watch our daughters together and grow together and play together and look at each other and hold hands and sleep together. It was beautiful.
Yeah, we spent all of our time just sitting in Keelyn's bed, and they would make a little space for Ryan, and so they would sit next to each other on the bed. And our 7.5 months in the hospital were so hard and so painful, but there was so much joy there.
Yeah.
And especially the nurses made our time in the hospital just amazing.
I mean, the CICU is a hard place.
It's so hard.
It's a hard hall to walk. Just there's so many moments. I remember Keelyn's first cardiac arrest, and we were in the room for it. Monitors start beeping, And people are like, no, it's okay, like everything's fine. And we were pretty new to the hospital at that point, you know. And it went from being fine to, 15 or 20 people in the room. And we were rushed out to a waiting room as like the doctors and the medical staff were intervening on our kid and trying to resuscitate her. She just overcame so many odds. And I think like that first week, no one was saying it, but like people weren't sure she was gonna make it through that first week. I was posted up outside of her room all night because I needed to be there. I knew I just had to be. We were gonna have such a short amount of time to intervene.
So she was on a ventilator almost her whole life. I would say of her 7.5 months, there were maybe 2 months total where she was extubated. She had breathing support, but not a ventilator. The first time I got to hold her was, she was 17 days. And she was still on the ventilator at that point. It's a ton of work to hold a baby on a ventilator. There are safety issues and stuff like that. So it takes like 3 people to move her into your arms. And so one of our nurses really advocated to let me hold her. And that's one of my favorite memories. It was so just amazing. And it's something that, you kind of take for granted getting to hold your baby after they're born. But we waited what felt like forever to do that.
Yeah, so we spent the summer just in the hospital, and we were basically just watching her grow. She needed to grow and gain weight so that we could actually put her under the surgery that she needed, and she was awesome in that surgery. She kind of recovered and then declined again.
The fall was really hard. She had another cardiac arrest in the fall. She went for 2 caths, but she'd gotten an echo and they couldn't see anything on the echo. And so they said they needed to take her in for a cath right then. And they thought there was a good chance she wouldn't come out of the cath alive. But we felt like we had to give her a shot.
Yeah.
And she did, and then she got a little better, and then it was December 15th when she had really started to decline. Her numbers were horrible. She was on basically like max supports. And I was at morning rounds, and I looked at Dr. West and I said, "Is this what dying looks like? Is she dying?" And he got down and he held my hands and he said, "Yes." And she died the next day. So.
And I think people don't know how to grieve well. We don't know how to process our pain. We don't know how to hurt. We don't know how to let it just linger. I was just talking earlier this week about the Hebrews had this concept of Shiva, which is it was a week of just sitting in your grief. And there's something so necessary about just being able to sit and hurt and just allow those emotions to happen. And I think sometimes, if you're people of faith, it's like you gotta pick right back up and keep going. But we need to learn how to be with one another as like we're hurting together. And that's what we experience with our friends. That's what we experience with our family. It's what we experience with our doctors and Wholehearted and all the people around us, is that people just were with us and allowed us to grieve and grieved with us and sat with us in those moments.
The Wholehearted Foundation's been really special to us.
I mean, they have a ministry of presence.
Yeah.
And I think so often people are so paralyzed by like, what can I do to help? And like, yeah, there are things you can do to help, but sometimes I find the biggest help is the people that are just with you. And Ryan and Kristen, like, they're just with you. That's who they are, and that's what Wholehearted's about. I can't tell you how many days you just kind of like walk out into the waiting room and there they are. I mean, just either there or there with food. And everyone talks about the parking passes, but I can't tell you like how much money we spent in parking passes. It truly is a blessing when you think about like, you know, we both had to work, you know, and we had wonderful jobs that gave us a lot of flexibility, but, you know, we're often multiple cars, multiple times a day, in and out of that garage just to be with your kid, you know? I mean, what a beautiful, practical way to help families. It's such a meaningful thing.
Yeah, and I think Wholehearted also just gives you a group of people. I remember being in the hospital and like being able to look at people who came out the other side and say, like, you did this, I can do this too. And I think that gave us a lot of strength.
I mean, I just think Wholehearted is a picture of hope. In what can be a really hopeless place, they bring light, because you get caught in this cycle of one day after another that turns into 1 week after another, that turns into 1 month after another. And they're a picture of a light at the end of the tunnel. The practical stuff is fantastic, but it's the hope that they bring families, that you're gonna get through this.
I was so looking forward to Ryan having a lifetime playmate. And so for me, having a kid close in age to Ryan was really important. Yeah, so Corbin was born in the winter in February of 2019.
Man, Corbin's just a beautiful, wonderful little boy, and we knew that naming him, we wanted to honor Keelyn, her memory and her legacy in some way. And so one of the stories that was told here in this space when we had Keelyn's memorial service is this story of James Corbett, who was a boxer, and his motto was fight one more round. I mean, we talked about it with Keelyn when we were with her, that she'd fight one more round. His name was James Corbett, and so we named our son Corbin James to honor her memory, her legacy, her tenacity.
So Ryan is almost 2.5 now, and Corbin's 7 months.
They're amazing.
They're awesome. They're so much fun.
Yeah, we think Ryan is just one of the most precocious and like talkative kids. We're loving life together, and you know, we talk about her every day. We sing about her every day. We pray. When we thank God for our family, we thank God for Ryan and Keelyn together. The truth is, it's not that Keelyn was, like Keelyn is. The world around us this is temporary, but we're eternal beings. We're spiritual beings, and we know that one day, like, we'll get to see Keelyn again. And I don't know. I feel like we got the short end of the stick, you know, because we have to live a lifetime here before we get to see her again. But eternity is like that. It's a blink of an eye that we'll all be together again. And so we have that hope, like, you know, death is not the end.
I really want people to remember Keelyn. It means so much to me when people miss her with me. Yeah. And to know that I'm not alone in that. And I think Keelyn brought out the best in everyone, and I want her to continue to do that.
She brought out kindness, and she brought out generosity. She brought out community. She brought out family. She brought out faith.
Yeah.
And we're all better for it, you know? We're all better for that. I think about our team. I think about the doctors, the medical professionals that came around and were believing for the best and working for the best. And I think about Wholehearted and coming along practically. I think about our community and our family supporting us up, giving us the strength to walk one more day. I think about the kindness of God, that in like the midst of sorrow, his presence is peace. His presence is good. And then like as we continue to walk our journey, like we get to play that. We get to take that which we've experienced and give that and be that for other people as well. That's how we carry on. That's how we walk. That's how we honor life.